What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Comics Grind. I'm one of your hosts, Nico Rodriguez,
And I'm Ken, aka Kami Ken on YouTube.
and thank you so much for joining us once again. We are here at episode number 12 of this comics discussion show. Ken, how are you doing, man? I know we're recording this one a little bit out of schedule. Been having some ridiculous technical issues, but hopefully that'll get resolved soon. But other than that, man, how are you doing?
Doing all right, man. I've just been working, plugging away, and I really need some more social interaction. But other than that, I'm doing all right. Um,
What do you
I
mean,
heard you
man?
went
Like,
to Heroes Con recently.
dude, I did. Heroes Con was what? I guess that was about a week ago now.
Nice.
It was a good time, man. I left Houston Thursday morning. So I got or a message from American Airlines saying like my flight and everything was on schedule Thursday morning, like at 6 a.m. So I was supposed to leave at like 9:15 a.m. or something like that.
Right.
But of course, as I was driving to the airport, get a text message in saying flight is delayed till like 11. So I was like, okay, 2 hour delay, whatever. Get in, start, making my way to the airport gate, and
Yep.
of course get another message, flight delayed till like 1 now. So I'm like, wonderful. Now I've got to just like chill out here in the airport for like 3 or 4 hours.
Yep.
But it was cool, it was fine. But yeah, it was a good time, man. It was a good turnout.
Yeah, I was wondering. And just a note for the viewers before we get into it. This episode is going to be all about Heroes Con. It's going to be about Nico's experience there, and we're going to get into some of the aspects like networking, some of the financial aspects of what it takes to go to a con and try to sell your comics there. So, first question I wanted to ask was, how many days was the convention, and how many days did you stay?
Yeah, it was a 3-day show. So it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like I said, I got there Thursday night. I had to like rush down to the convention center to kind of put up a few things.
Right.
Because setup was open on the Thursday from like, I want to say from like noon till 8 p.m. That Thursday. So I kind of got into Charlotte at like 4. Had to hurry up, go check into my hotel, and get down to their convention center. But yeah,
Charlotte,
man.
North
So it was
Carolina.
yeah, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Damn.
So it was a, a bit of a ways from Houston. I think I looked into driving for a second, but it was like a 15-hour drive, and I was like,
Oh Jesus.
nah, that ain't happening.
What about
So
a
that
train
was
though?
an train.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but I don't
Oh man,
know.
that might have
Have
been an option.
That's true. Actually, figuring out how to like get all my books, all my prints, all my portfolio stuff, all my clothes, like trying to figure out how to like maneuver all of that into like one suitcase and one backpack was actually pretty terrible. So a train might have been easier to kind of lug everything.
All your stuff in one suitcase and one backpack?
Well,
Okay,
I
you
mean,
had two separate things of luggage?
yeah. So I had
Okay, okay.
like my carry-on was my backpack, which I put
Right,
like all my original art and like, painting supplies and all that kind of stuff in my backpack.
right.
I had my banner in my hand as a second carry-on.
Mhm.
And then I went to TJ Maxx and found like the biggest suitcase I could find for like $100.
Dope.
And I bought that and just like put my books, put my clothes, put everything that I could in there.
Awesome.
It actually turned out all right because like checking in that suitcase was only about $30, which isn't terrible. So
Let's
it was
talk
an
about let's get
experience.
into the show, man. Nobody cares about the suitcase and
Hey
no,
man,
let's get to the
you
show.
have to get there somehow.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the juicy details, man.
Yeah.
Like, who are you tabling next to?
So my table buddies for the weekend were a guy named Xavier Robbins, who's a really awesome artist. I hadn't met him before. he's very got this wonderful painting style that was
Uh-huh.
awesome. So that guy, he was on my right side. My left side, I had this other guy that I hadn't met, who's an awesome artist as well. His name was Andy Rummel, and
Andy Rummel?
yeah, yeah. So he does a lot of tattooing, but he also does comics. He does like some cool prints and stuff like that. Kind of like a cartoon-ish style. Kind of reminded me maybe of like early 2000s, maybe like Marvel DC work, where it like kind of had like that pretty extensive cartooniness to it, but not super cartoony to where it's like, you know, like like a typical cartoonist or something. But I lucked out in terms of the two guys I was sitting next to. I hadn't met them before, but
Uh-huh.
both of them were like awesome artists and super cool guys as well. So, but then I was also like one row over from Jim Shooter, which was also pretty badass.
Dang. Actually, see if you can show my screen. I'm gonna try to pull up these artists and
Yeah, yeah,
show what they look like.
cool. So yeah, so that was, and then right across from me were a few guys that had interesting displays and setups that um, I wasn't a huge fan of because it kind of
Oh, really?
it like vision wise and in terms of like layout of the area, it like blocked all three of us
Uh-huh.
because of how massive their like wall of prints was, which I'm sure everyone else out there, that's definitely not Xavier.
That's not him.
No,
Dang. All right.
I can find his Instagram here in a sec if you want.
Is this it right here?
Um, it could be. Let's see. We're doing this live. This is the beauty of live. Let me get his
We need to get a guy
Instagram
like
is
Jamie, like Joe Rogan has.
yeah, I know. So if
Yeah.
you just look up, if you go to Instagram and go to Xavier Robbins Art, that's his handle.
Maybe I'm spelling it wrong.
Xavier.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no underscore or anything. It's just Xavier Robbins Art all
All right. Let me
together.
go
That's his
to
Instagram.
Instagram and then I'll just type it in really fast.
Yeah, so Xavier Robbins Art, all in one word. His logo is like an X. Yeah,
Is it two
Robin.
B's on the Robins?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There it is, right there.
Dope.
Yeah.
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. So that's Xavier. He actually did some of those pieces on the weekend, like um that Catwoman there at the beginning and the King. He did those.
Nice.
Oh, and he did that. If you see that third Princess Peach one, so that was also another fun part of the show. That was his auction piece. So we, we
Nice.
we can get into that too. But Saturday night was like the big Heroes Con auction for the weekend. Basically, all
Right.
the proceeds go to the show. So yeah,
That
it
reminds
was it
me
was
of
cool.
Brian Stelfreeze actually.
So that's the interesting thing about it. He is actually like his mentor is Brian Stelfreeze. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so Brian was there as well. Um, so yeah, so if you look at Brian Stelfreeze's auction piece, it looks amazing. He did this awesome storm, but yeah, so it was pretty interesting because like that was the first thing I thought too, and I was like, man. And then I kind of saw him like hanging out with Brian, and he
Uh-huh.
had mentioned like his mentor before, but he didn't say mentor. Um, or he didn't say his mentor's name, and then I kind of pieced it together, and I was like, oh, okay, makes total sense now.
Right. Nice. What
Um,
was the name of the other guy you
so
were next to?
It was Ande. Let me see if I can find his Instagram really quick. Um,
Spell it out.
yes, Ande, and then Rummel. And his Instagram is also just all one word. That Yeah, that should be it, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, so he was really cool too, man. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so
You
he
said he
does.
was a tattoo artist.
Yeah, he does his. He wants to do comics, um,
Right.
and that's what he wants to do full time. But he also does a lot of
Whoa.
tattooing. He was actually like tattooing like fake skin
Uh
at
huh.
the event, and it was like kind of getting people over to his table, which was a really good idea.
That's dope.
Um, but yeah, he's good. He had some cool like mini comics and stuff too, stickers, temporary tattoos. Um, yeah, so
Right.
he was super cool.
He's got a very graphic style, for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah, very graphic style, and like
Nice.
his prints are like that same kind of aesthetic as well. But yeah,
Right. So, who else did you meet? Like,
yeah.
I guess
So
in terms of networking, like, who'd you meet and rub noses with and all that?
so yeah, so networking wise, man, it was a good it was such a awesome artist alley. I mean, because they had your bigger names, and they had, so basically at Heroes Con, in the very center of Artist Alley is called Indie Island.
Indie
And
Island,
it's
huh?
basically like a curated section. Um, I didn't make that area this year.
Uh
So
huh.
like my location in terms of it wasn't the best location. So I was like off to like the far right of Artist
Hmm.
Alley at like a very end.
Right.
Where people, the traffic mostly gravitates to is like that center area, which is Indie Island.
Right.
Um so Indie Island's like it's curated, so they have like the cartoonist kayfabe guys there, Ed and
Oh,
Jim.
really?
Yeah, they've got guys like Noah Van Sciver, who I'm a huge fan of.
Hmm.
They've got who else do they have in Indiana? Mi- Michelle Fife, guys like that,
Right.
like bigger kind of indie guys. But then they
Actually,
also
I
have
want to
like
take a
smaller.
second to ask, did you bring a partner with you, or did you have to man your booth alone?
So my girlfriend came with me. Um,
Awesome. Okay.
so she kind of helped me out in that regard.
Right.
Throughout the show, like there were definitely its lulls. So
Mm.
I was kind of like, and we both kind of left the table at times
Oh,
because,
really?
like I said, where I was, it was not the best location, and we can kind of get more into that later. But in terms of other people that I met, some of the bigger names and who I've mentioned on this channel that I'm a huge fan of was Matt Kent. He was there
Oh, word.
with like this awesome kind of like interactive booth. So I chatted with him for a while and was super happy to find out that he's a super nice guy. Sometimes they're
Nice.
like, don't meet your heroes, or don't meet the people that you look up to or kind of respect. But
That
luckily, super cool guy.
that was the first time meeting him?
First time meeting him. Bought a couple of his books. We kind of talked about like watercoloring and stuff.
Nice.
Gave him one of my books, and he seemed to, as far as just looking at it, he was really kind of connected with it, because it's, I'm closer to him than like, a guy like, Brian Stelfreeze or something, in terms of my
Right.
artwork.
Right.
So super happy to find out that he was a nice guy.
Um, you met all these artists, like, in terms of, I mean, did you meet them while you were just like walking around, or did they kind of come by to your table?
Uh, Walking around. So like I said, my location wasn't the best. So even if those guys were walking around,
Hmm.
it would be hard to kind of like find where to stop, at my booth.
Right.
So it was really me. It was really on Friday. So Friday was like the slowest day
Oh,
because it's
really?
like, not everybody's getting off of work later in the day and stuff. So I that was the time where I got like my most kind of interaction with people.
Okay.
So I went to go talk to Matt. Went to go talk to Kyle Starks. Had a real cool conversation with him.
Kyle
Um,
Starks. Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Sex
So
Castle and all them.
yeah, super cool guy, dude throws down on a conversation. He can talk,
Nice.
which was awesome. We're talking about like basketball and stuff like that. So,
Awesome.
um, a guy, Chris Schweizer, who is an awesome cartoonist as well. He was awesome, and he actually liked my book so much that he was like, "Hey, dude, you want to do a trade? Like even?" I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Cool, let's
Dope.
do it." Um, so yeah, I got some real cool feedback in terms of like, you know, the people who I gave my book to, they seemed to
Mhm.
be, connected to it instantly, which was
Nice.
good. And I don't know, how far, that kind of stuff goes. One
Mm.
cool thing was, Ken, Jerry Schaefer as well, right? The guy that,
Right.
runs Eastern Rim. So he was actually at the show just as a fan.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so I was walking by and like walking by, like I went to go grab something. I was trying to get back to my booth, and then I heard out of the, my left, on the left side, it was like, Nico. I was like, what? I turned around and it was Jerry, and Jerry was like sitting right behind Noah Van Sciver's booth. He was like, "Come over here, man. I want you to meet
Mm.
Noah." And I was like, "Oh, dude, like I love this dude." I hadn't seen where his table was, but like I have a whole bunch of his books, and like he's a super cool cartoonist.
Nice.
Um, but like Jerry's like friends with him. So like I went over there, like gave him my book and stuff, and he liked it as well. We were just chatting about like indie publishing and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, so another really cool interaction, but um, it's cool to kind of like, you know, there's only one place that you can kind of have these interactions, and it's at a show like Heroes.
Right. Because a lot of comic artists, they're just gonna be stuck in their house all day, just not really interacting with the outside world, and a lot of their interactions come from these comic conventions and whatnot. And I wanted to ask, like, maybe it's like a two-part question. Do you think that these interactions that you had with the creators, do you think that it leads to something down the line, or it's like a nice pleasant thing in the moment? And then part two of that question is, when you've had an interaction with somebody you would consider new to the comic industry, did you ever think about them that after that interaction or after that convention?
Yeah. So part one was, like, what kind of legs do these interactions have, right?
Right.
Like, is
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I don't know. The way I see it, and the way my approach was like, look, I'm bringing 15 extra books. These extra books are my advertisement material.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm going to give these books out for free if it calls for it.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I almost like consider that as like my advertisement budget, for
Right.
for my operation. Um, Now I don't know if any of these interactions and giving out these books are going to, um, you know, make do there, if they're going to do anything positive in terms of my career later on. But the way I see it, it's like, look, what if I give my book to person A this year, right? It's the single comic.
Mm-hmm.
And then next year I see him again. I've got the full graphic novel complete. And I'm like, hey, remember that first chapter I gave you last year? Well, check it out. I've got the full thing done now.
Right.
Maybe they take that full thing and they're like, whoa, this is legit. Hey,
Right.
Fantagraphics. I'm cool with you guys. I do a lot of work with talking as the artist, as the guy who I'm giving the book to. You know,
Right.
I have a respectable relationship with them. hey, here's this book that this real cool cartoonist gave me. Check it out. You know, I don't
Right.
know if these things are going to happen, but the interaction themselves, um, it could lead to something. And
Right.
at minimum, it's me trying, and it's me
Yeah.
getting instant feedback on my book from these guys who I respect and who are doing similar things successfully that I want to do.
Right. And you're just like putting yourself out there. Um
Yeah,
and that's why I feel like it's a very intangible aspect. You never really know where one thing is going to lead, but then all of a sudden you're getting like a shout out or just random work out of nowhere, and it's taking care of you financially uh
yeah,
over
and
time.
and I don't know if those shout outs are going to happen. I mean, there's these guys are busy as hell. These guys
Right.
probably have another 20 people who just did this, an hour before. Um, but you know what? I can't think like you can't think like that at these shows.
Right.
Like, oh, everyone else is doing it, so I shouldn't do it because I'm just a number in that case.
Right.
No,
Right. Right.
you've got to at least just jump in, dedicate a little bit of your budget to it, and just and
Mm-hmm.
just try it because you really never know. When you know if you go to a booth and tell somebody like Kyle Starks or something about your idea, it
Mm-hmm.
means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. If you go
Right.
up to Kyle Starks and show them a book that you printed, that you drew, that you figured out how to make that physical piece of art, and you're able to hand that to them, you've already beat out about 50% of the people that haven't made that book. They still
Right.
have they still have an idea, but you have a book,
Right.
you know?
It's a lot better than a business card, I would say.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So then, speaking about the financial aspect, I want to get into that kind of brass tacks area. Like, how much did it cost to really, if you're comfortable with it, I want to get into the numbers of how much it really costs to go to the show, run the show, and how much you made at the end.
Right. So I'm just off the bat, I'm going to tell you guys, this show was an absolute shit show financially for me.
Dang.
um yeah, so and there's a lot of factors to that, but just kind of like
Right.
starting at the beginning.
Right. We'll start with like the table fees, like the
Yeah.
traveling fees, all that stuff.
Yeah, so table fee, I got the table 4 or 5 months before the show. Whenever
Oh, you
the
bought it in
app
advance. Okay.
yeah, whenever the applications went up, I immediately jumped on it because I knew that here I know and everyone has told me that Heroes Con is like the comic book show. So I was like, I need to do this. No
Right.
matter what, I want to check it out and at least experience it. So table fee off off the bat was
Right.
$345.
Damn.
Yeah. So 345 gets you one six
Jesus
foot
Christ.
table. So 6 foot table is like your standard folding table.
Do you get to keep the
Um,
table afterwards?
no, but you get to take a picture of it, and you can take that home with you.
Wowzers. That's amazing. Okay. 6 feet.
um,
Wow.
yeah, so 6 foot table.
Wait, is
So,
there a reason why it costs that much?
um,
I would just give
well,
up right there.
here's the thing: you can't give up because that is standard. Um,
Is that standard
comic
for all
palooza.
the like even the primo spots, like the primetime spots?
So what I mean by standard is that three like 340, 350. That's
Mm-hmm.
standard for a pretty decent sized 3-day show. So
Right.
Comic Palooza, um, another, any other kind of like, Eastern or not Eastern Rim, um, Emerald City, these types of shows, they're going to be standard at $340. Like the Dragon Cons, those type of shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty standard.
I mean, you know this
There
from having like gone to cons all year.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. So I know that just because of like, I've been doing shows for a handful of years now.
Hmm.
So like when I saw 340, I was like, okay, um, I understand. That's
Right.
just what it is.
Okay. Okay.
Now, if I was tabling with a buddy,
Hmm.
splitting that in half, that might be a good way to go for this in terms of table fee.
Right.
Because then, your 340 goes down to what, 160, 170,
Right.
which is a lot more manageable. Um, but yeah, just going as a solo guy, you're gonna spend $340 just to have a table there.
Right. So that's
Um,
the table fee, $345. And then is that alone, or is it doesn't include taxes or
it was 345 was like the final payment. It was like the final fee. Yeah,
right?
I think
And so
I think it might be like 320 or something, and then you include tax. Maybe it
okay,
comes out at 340. I think that's what
for
it was
for all 3 days, right?
for all 3 days. For all three
Okay.
days, yeah.
And then travel fees, I guess.
So travel fees is the other thing. So you're already about
Yep.
$340 in the hole.
Hmm.
So travel fees, for you, for me, for people who have to fly there. Well, you
Right.
don't have to, right? You could choose the option to drive from Houston to Charlotte, but that's about a 15-hour drive,
Damn.
which is just not worth it for me.
Right.
But so in all, this was for, let's see, so just for per person, right? If I'm thinking per person,
Yep.
and so I shared a room with my girlfriend, right?
Right.
Um, so for each of us, it was probably about, for flight and stay, it was about $740, I think it was.
For okay, so the flight itself was like
So if you factor that out, because I'm trying to like factor it out for like just one person. So if you factor that out, it was probably about maybe 2 or 300 for the flight,
right
and
for the
then the
flight.
balance for stay. But here's the thing with that stay is like, I'm sectioning this up into two, right? So if
Hmm.
you're just getting a room yourself, it's probably going to be 800 to $1,000
Right.
for, well, here I guess I need to say these few things too. We did stay an extra day, so that was an extra night stay.
Okay.
Um, we did come in a day early,
Right.
um, that Thursday. So, you gotta, take a few of those things into consideration. But I mean, if you're gonna budget, just for, you know, a hotel room and the flight, you're probably gonna have to budget for about $1,200, I'd say.
Hotel room
Um,
and flight. Wow.
yeah,
And that's
because
for
I mean,
if you have two people.
well, yeah, if you have two people, you're going to be able to cut that cost in half. Your stay cost, because if
Oh,
you're
the
going to
stay for
share
the
share a room, yeah.
right.
So it's a little hard for me to judge because like I'm saying, like, it was a little bit of different situation with me. But
Well,
if you're just like a solo artist going there,
uh-huh.
I'm trying to put it into those terms.
Well, don't worry about the solo aspect. Just you said your stay with your girlfriend was 700 something.
Times two.
Oh, seven.
So
Oh, fuck.
so yeah. So if
Jesus.
I'm just talking strictly on that,
Uh
it
huh.
was probably about $1,400, for
Jeez.
both of our stay
Uh
and for
huh.
both of our travel
Was breakfast
in total.
included with that?
No, negative.
Nah, you gotta
and
be joking.
and and here's the thing: this is on the cheaper end of stay because we stayed at a Holiday Inn that was about half a mile away from the convention center.
Uh,
But where the majority of people stay is the Westin, which is right next to the convention center,
right.
and you're going to be paying more for that.
Right. Did you have to
Yeah.
Uber back and forth from the convention?
No, no, we didn't.
Just
It
walk?
was, yeah, it was good enough walking distance.
Okay.
About a 10 to 15-minute walk down the street, but
Not bad.
not bad at all. So that's a good thing. They have a lot of hotels in that area, so
Uh-huh.
you can kind of like find which one goes along with your budget.
Nice. So that's already 17. That's $1,745 just about in the whole so far, just for
Yeah.
travel and table.
Yeah.
Dang. And did you buy the plane ticket months in advance or
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
wow.
I got all that stuff done probably a good 3 months before the show, I would say.
Dang.
Um but yeah, like I said, this was a show that it was like I want to do it and I want to experience it.
Right.
Go in. You sometimes you just got to jump in.
Yeah.
Um
So then what else was an expense like food and all
yeah,
that?
yeah, so other than that it's food. Really that's pretty much the only other expense outside of table and stay and flight.
Right.
Because I can't really think of anything else, but food wise, I mean, food it like I said, I went with the girlfriend, so
Right.
we ate out pretty well. We wanted to try out some better restaurants and things
Right.
like that were kind of local to Charlotte. um I'm trying to think. I don't know if I can put a precise number on like how much we spent, but
Right.
um you know you can probably say $100 a day, maybe. You want to
Okay.
kind of you want to budget for that, because but I mean, here's the thing: we kind of treated it in the eating out regards, like we kind of
Uh-huh.
treated it like a vacation.
Right.
And if you're going on vacation, you're going to be like, oh,
Splurge.
let's go try it. Yeah, let's go try out this restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It's been on Food Network before. Let's go try it out. Um, but if you're balling on a budget, and if you want to
Right.
strictly stay to like, um, you know, let me lose as least money as possible. They had things like Jimmy John's,
Right.
um, those type of things around the area.
Dope.
Um, so yeah,
So that's $2,000. Um and let's okay, well then let's go into the income, like revenue, all that stuff. How much did you make over the course of the 3 days at the show?
Oh, the other expense
Right?
that I failed to mention was
Oh, there's another one.
how much shit I bought at the show.
Oh, right,
So
yeah.
I just there was so much stuff there. I bought a I bought too much, but I don't even know how much I spent. I don't even want to think about that
Damn.
because
Did you
because
budget
like
for that in the
again, I was sort of treating this thing like part vacation. So I was kind
okay.
of like, look, if there's a creator there and I want their stuff, like I'm gonna go drop $40 on like their
Right.
books. Um, so I didn't budget for it, but I didn't budget like precisely for it, but I knew I was gonna
Right.
buy stuff. I was just hoping that what I made at the show would kind of offset that, but it
Right.
didn't. So getting to that, as far as like how much I made in the
Mhm.
show, um, I didn't make more than $200 for all 3 days, um, which was
$200.
pretty disheartening for me.
That would
But at the
dishearten
same
anybody.
time, huh?
I said that would dishearten anybody.
Yeah, yeah,
Even the
yeah.
most hardened veteran, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, and there's a lot of factors to it.
right,
Like I mentioned before, location is really, really a key part to this show.
right,
Um, Being that I was like in a far end, um, there was traffic that went, but that traffic wasn't the comics buying traffic.
mm,
Um, like I said, the traffic kind of goes towards the center and then disperses a bit. Um,
right,
the other thing from that, the other thing besides location, was from all accounts, even to all the other independent cartoonists, all the other comic sellers, even um, comics resellers, like guys that are there, selling, back issues and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it was a very, very down year compared to years
Wow.
past. So even one of my friends, or a guy that I met there, that I became friends with,
Mm-hmm.
um, really good artist, cool cartoonist, everything. Like, he came up to me on Saturday, and Saturday is like the busy day of the
Right.
weekend, and it was like afternoon, and he came up to me and he was like, "Yeah, I sold 4 stickers today." You know, no comics,
Dang.
no prints, no nothing. He sold 4 stickers, and he was. And here's the thing: maybe location wouldn't have played as much a big of a factor as I would have thought, because he was like in dead center of Indie Island, which
Wow.
was the center of the artist alley.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so even some other guys that I had become Instagram friends with, we kind of chat on Instagram. I was finally able to meet them, which was cool.
Dope.
Um, I was talking to them and they were like, "Yeah, man, like such a slow show compared to last year and the year before." Um, they said that they got a whole bunch of pre-show commissions last year. This
Mm-hmm.
year, they hadn't even done one commission all weekend.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, it was a very weird year, I think.
Right.
So that was another factor in it. Just some of the things I kind of noticed. If you're a big timer like Daniel Warren Johnson and Trad Moore, so
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Warren Johnson and Trad Moore, they were right next to each other.
Oh wow.
They had a giant line all 3 days.
Dang. Wow.
Um, so if you're a bigger named artist, comics
Uh-huh.
artist, you're going to get the line. And I
Right.
almost feel like the attendees that were going there, they were going with their preset list of people who they want to see,
Yeah,
bigger
that's true.
names.
Uh-huh.
So instead of walking around and kind of trying to find like the new art or the new guys, they were kind of there like, "Oh, let's go to Scotty Young, let's go to Daniel Warren Johnson."
Right.
So those lines were like packed all weekend. But
Right.
it was
Because they know
like,
there's gonna be a line, so they'll just get in it quickly.
exactly.
Right.
Um, so it was just like those attendees just like didn't disperse enough. Another thing that I had heard from one of the artists that had done this show previous years, they said that this year was a lot more spread out, whereas before it was a lot more congested.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that when it's more congested, you have a lot more traffic trying to get through a smaller space,
Right.
meaning that like a guy like me might get more attendance because everyone's confined a little more.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're more likely to see you, they're more likely to stop. This year they had like opened it up and added like a new section of the floor, so it was a lot more spread out.
Right.
Um which kind of maybe didn't give as much traffic flow to like the newer guys or the people that people didn't know that they want to see yet.
Right.
um so yeah, it was just a lot of factors, man. I don't know how, this is my
Theory.
my theory, my assessing of the situation.
Right.
um you know but
About
I
how
will
much did
say,
you Oh, go ahead.
no, I mean, I will say, like, the people who did walk by my table and saw West Not South,
Mm-hmm.
the people who were like into it were into it. You know, the
Dope.
cover caught their eye. They saw it. They picked it up, looked through it. Dude, this is dope, and bought it.
Right.
Um, it was just like finding those people was the tough part.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna ask, like, did you have an estimate on how much you spent on like books and merchandise at the show?
Uh, man, I'm trying to
Just so I can
think
get
because,
like a full
like,
accounting of expenses.
yeah, like Friday. Friday I went ham. Uh,
Would you say like
I've
600 or something?
no, 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 not quite that much. I'd
400.
probably. I'm trying to think because like there was like one booth that I went up to and spent like $85, just right
Just
there
gave
at
your
one
money.
booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably
300
between three
bucks.
and three. But it was between 300 and 400. So just say 350. But
But
even then, I don't know if I spent that much. But um, yeah, you can call it at that.
right. So
And
we're
here's the thing:
yeah.
I wanted to buy a lot more.
Oh,
But
really? Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like very conscious of like what I could fit, coming back.
Right.
Um, So yeah, I wanted to buy like I bought a handful of things from like indie artists, from guys, I had just met. I bought a handful of things from um guys who I'd already known.
Yeah.
So I tried to get like a grab bag of everything.
Yep.
But like I said, I wanted to get more.
So we're coming out to a grand total of approximately 2,400 or $2,400 spent, and then $200 in revenue,
Whew,
and that comes
man.
out to about
Damn, I have not heard it said in these numbers, but
right. Yeah, it
impressive.
hurts, and then it comes out to a negative $2,200 in terms of costs and expenses. So
Yeah, man.
fuck.
Um
Would you say that's typical of the con going experience when you're a creator starting out?
not in my experience. Because here's the thing. This is my first like legit out of town show.
Okay.
Um, Meaning this is the first time that I've had to like fly out somewhere and everything
Right.
to do the show. Previous shows I've just driven to. I've driven
Yeah.
to. I've either been able to find a cheap room
Mhm.
for the night, or I've been able to just drive back to my house,
Right.
um, and do it. The only other out of town show that I've gone to,
Mhm.
um, well, never mind. I didn't table there, so that doesn't count. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
uh,
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, like, how does local shows compare, like local in Texas or local like where you're at and all that
yeah.
financially?
I mean, it's a lot more. It's a lot more manageable.
Right.
From like an indie person like me who's trying to like figure out how to like get that bigger following and everything.
Right.
Um,
Like you can cut out gas,
so
or you can put in gas, but you can cut out like flight fees,
yeah,
baggage fees. You can cut out
exactly. Yeah,
hotel
yeah.
fees
So
sometimes.
like just let's take I'm going to take a very simple example. I did a show in San Antonio this past
Okay.
year. It was a one-day show, a Saturday show, really cool show called Casa, Comic Art San Antonio.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so I did that show. Um, so we had to drive to so me and my buddy went. We had to drive to San Antonio. We got a hotel for the night.
Mhm.
So when you include gas, you include stay, you include food for the day.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't remember exactly how much it was, but
Right.
what I made at the show, I was in the green. So I made all my expenses back,
Mhm.
um, and then some. So just like taking that into consideration,
Right.
um, you know, plus
Well,
table fee and everything.
what were some numbers like the table fee, the I guess you could say gas expenses, and then how much did you make in terms of revenue at the show?
Um, Hard for me to remember exactly, but so I think the table fee was like $100.
Okay, that's not bad.
Or what? No, 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 it wasn't even $100. It was like $50 because it was a
Oh
one
wow.
day show. So yeah,
Oh, it's one day. Okay.
a one day show is going to be less. I think it was like
Right.
$50. Um, my stay for the night was like probably like $120, but I split that in half with my buddy.
Okay, so it was like
Um,
60.
yeah, so 60.
Dope.
Gas there was maybe 40, so say there and back maybe 40.
Uh-huh.
Food for the day was, I don't know, call it at $40 maybe, food for the day.
All right.
40 or 50, I don't know. So how much is that there?
It's coming out to like 200.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So 200, and then I probably made maybe like I'd say like 300 for the show.
Dope.
Um, um, that was I think at that show I did a couple sketches,
Mm-hmm.
commission sketches. I sold a good amount of books, sold a good amount of prints. So yeah, so maybe yeah. So I don't know if it was 300, but it was over, my expenses in which I was in the green for the day for the weekend. Um,
Nice.
Similar scenario at Comic Palooza.
Right.
Comic Palooza was even better because Comic Palooza, it was a local show, so I was
Right.
able to. I didn't even have to buy a room for the night.
Oh, nice.
Basically, when you look at Comic Palooza, or to the other cartoonists and everything that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
your local big show, um,
Right.
you're really just trying to make back table fee. And
Mm.
if you make back table fee, it's a success. If you get even, if you don't even make a single bit over your table fee, it's a success because you've got new fans. You've got new customers.
Right.
Um, so like the local shows are much more manageable. Um,
Right.
with a show like Heroes, for a guy like me, it's going to be very, very tough. For
Right.
for a guy like Daniel Warren Johnson or
Mm.
somebody who's got a lot of that steam going, it's not going to be as tough because um, you can charge $200 for a head sketch. you know,
Right.
you have these different factors.
Right. So would you go into the show again, knowing how much it's skewed towards the bigger creator? Like, would you wait to become a bigger creator before going to Heroes Con again, or would you do it again, even in your current state?
Um, that's a good question, man. All those thoughts have kind of gone through my head.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because financially it was not a success, but
Right.
networking wise it was a success. I was able to kind of do the things that talk to some bigger creators, kind of show 'em my work and stuff like that. Like we talked about earlier, I was also able to meet some indie guys that are kind of like trying to make it, or trying to get a consistent career out of it, as I am.
Right.
So some of those guys were super cool. How they kind of say, people on the same wave, they kind of, go through the ocean at the same speed. So like if you start meeting some of the guys that are like, you know, on that same wavelength,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a good networking thing. And at Heroes, you get that like with flying colors.
Nice.
Um, so in that sense, but no, I would do it again. When I do it again, though, I would at minimum like to at minimum I would like to um say like if you ever wanted to go, like
Mm-hmm.
you and I go, to where we're splitting everything in half.
Right.
If I go back, I would want to think about it in a little more terms of a business trip. This was like half business, but it was also kind of half vacation because it was like my first time at this show, first
Right.
time at this in the city. Um, so I would change my mentality, change my approach a little bit.
Right.
Um, I would really like to somehow get closer to that center of Artist Alley.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that, but I would do it again at this current stage in my career.
Right.
I would just try to rethink things. It's a valuable experience, but
Right.
it
And
would
now you
just
know how much
be
it costs and all
yeah,
that.
and it would be an even better experience, with a bigger name behind yourself.
Right.
But
That's
it's
what this
tough, man.
podcast is for, man.
That's exactly that's exactly it. Um,
Nice. Any final thoughts on Heroes Con and all that?
Um, yeah, man. Just, I mean, final thoughts. Like I said, it was a really good experience. It
Mhm.
is by far, um, one of the biggest artist alleys you will ever see. Um,
Right.
tons of comics creators, a few kind of fan art guys.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, a few fan art guys
You
is
know
all
the
I'll
ones.
say. Yeah. Um, but a ton of comics creators, which was excellent to see.
Right.
Um, but at the same time, it's a kind of a double-edged sword because okay, now you got a ton of comics creators, a ton of people doing dope stuff.
Right.
Now, how do you stand out in that group? It's
Right.
tough. It's tough. That's another factor. It's just kind of something that now that I know, um, going into the next time I go, I
Mhm.
kind of understand and my expectations are maybe a little bit more tame. Um,
Dope.
but certainly a great place to be. It's a great place to be for comics. And I'd certainly recommend you can everybody else watching to at least attend it and go check it out.
Right.
But for sure, if you can swing it, getting a table there, certainly a great experience.
Nice.
But cool, man. I think that kind of wraps up Heroes Con 2023 debriefing
Yep.
session. I hope that this conversation was valuable, a little enlightening, entertaining for you, you cartoonists, you comic creators out there that maybe thinking about doing the show, tabling there, or just going as a fan, networking with some of your fellow cartoonists and creators. Certainly a great thing. Hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. But other than that, Ken, tell the good people out there where they can find you. Where can they follow your work?
People can find me on Twitter every day, pretty much. I'm at the Ken on Twitter, and then I'm at Ken on YouTube and Instagram. And I'm gonna be starting up my like actual webcomic website pretty soon. But until then, you can find me on Global Comics. My comic is called Air Rider High School Hero. You can always find it there. And hey, you got the thing down there, nice.
Awesome, awesome. And you guys can find me at Nico_writes on Instagram most actively, also on Twitter. You can also follow me on my Substack. I may be doing like another kind of Heroes Con uh, post here pretty soon on the Substack, just to maybe put some of the sketches that I did over the weekend, maybe some of the sites I saw. And you can find me on the Substack at nicorodriguez.substack.com. Other than that, thanks so much for tuning in this week, and we will see you next time.